Prevagen and Neuriva are two very popular memory supplements, but do either of them actually work? Let me show you the ingredients and the research on both Prevagen and Neuriva to help you make a better decision for yourself. So we start with Prevagen. It's the one you've probably seen on television. It's got two ingredients. It's the jellyfish memory supplement. Prevagen's got two main ingredients. You got vitamin D. It's actually, they're mentioning here is 50 micrograms. It's 2,000 international units. And this jellyfish protein that I'm highlighting called Apoaequorin, and I probably ruined that name, but it's the jellyfish protein. It's supposed to improve memory. It's giving you 10 milligrams of this jellyfish protein. Now, the way the jellyfish protein is supposed to work is by removing calcium levels from the brain. There is some evidence that people with dementia and Alzheimer's have higher levels of calcium in the brain. So in theory, if you could remove those elevated calcium levels, this might help memory be improved. The Apoaequorin protein was originally isolated in the 1960s from jellyfish. They no longer get it from jellyfish. It's actually made synthetically in the lab right now. So if you're thinking about the ecological impact of Prevagen, it's made in the lab. You got nothing to worry about. Now, in terms of the types of Prevagen, if you're at the store looking for this and you can't decide for yourself, here are the different types side by side. Prevagen regular, the extra strength, the professional level of Prevagen, and then Prevagen chewables. You can see right off the bat, they all have the same amount of vitamin D, 2,000 international units of vitamin D. Where they differ is in the jellyfish protein. The original Prevagen giving you 10 milligrams of this Apoaequorin jellyfish protein, 20 in the extra strength, 40 milligrams in Prevagen professional, and then the Prevagen chewable clocking in at 10 milligrams. So basically, Prevagen chewables is a chewable version of the regular. And I wanted to give you the dosage, the amounts of the jellyfish protein, because I'm going to show you the research and I'm going to show you the amounts used in research to help you, again, decide whether professional or extra strength is better than maybe the regular version for you. So if we look at the research on Prevagen, so the company that makes it called Quincy Bioscience, they've got several studies on this product. Most of them are not peer-reviewed in medical journals, and I'm not even going to talk about them. They have mentioned that in previous work with older dogs, the jellyfish protein appeared to help the memory of the dogs, and that's quite interesting. But what about people? Turns out there is one clinical study published in medical journals on Prevagen. Here it is. It's called the Madison Memory Study, usually, and that's because it occurred in Madison, Wisconsin. Essentially, you've got almost 220 people. They're given either a placebo or 10 milligrams of this Apoaequorin jellyfish protein for 90 days. So that's basically how the study is set up. And what do they find? So they basically say in the results here, they say that those taking the Apoaequorin jellyfish protein showed statistically significant improvement in verbal learning and recall on these two memory tests here. It's called the International Shopping List Test and the Delayed Recall International Shopping List. And okay, that's quite interesting. Let's dig a little deeper. So if we look at the International Shopping List, essentially, it is exactly what it sounds like. They give people a list of things to go to the store with, okay? We've all done the shopping list and basically see how many of the shopping list items can be recalled. So they say this, after the study, and this is important, a significant difference in the number of items correctly recalled on the International Shopping List was not seen between the control group, placebo group, and the jellyfish group when the entire study's population was analyzed. Stop you right there. Let's take a step back. What does that mean? It's not the greatest worded sentence out there. Basically, it says this: when you look at everybody, you take a step back at the 10,000 mile view and you look at everybody, the people taking the placebo, the people taking the jellyfish protein, no difference in memory, no improvement in memory in those taking the key ingredient in Prevagen when you looked at the entire study population. When you're comparing apples to apples, you did not see any improvement in memory at all. Okay, but here's the other thing they say. In the very next sentence, they go on to say, however, we did see significant improvements in memory when we looked at people who were normal. When people had no memory problems whatsoever, and they did before and after memory tests on like this international shopping test, that's when they saw a significant improvement in the number of items they could recall. Their memory recall improved, but only in people who started out with normal memory. When they looked at everybody, all 218 people, and compared the Prevagen to the people getting a placebo, there was no change in memory. So based on this one particular study, is one particular memory test, it only appeared to work in people who had no memory problems. Now, if we look at the other memory test in this, it's called the Delayed Recall International Shopping List. Basically, they had them recall what they were told to get at the store about a half an hour later. And here they find, yes, the Prevagen jellyfish protein improved memory more than the placebo. I thought that was interesting that Prevagen did not appear to work, and say in the original memory test where you basically recount what you had taken, what you were going to shop for, but 25 minutes later it did appear to improve memory. Okay. How much of an increase in delayed memory did these people actually appear to have? Well, we're looking at about a 16% increase in memory versus a 7.5% increase in people who took a placebo. I'll leave that to your discretion whether you think that's significant or not. Again, one of the things that I wondered about is it possible that maybe Prevagen might work better longer? Maybe it didn't work, say, 5 minutes after taking it, but could it have worked better within a half an hour? That's kind of what they're getting at in this study, but it is a little odd. I'll give you that, but that is what they apparently have found. The study, by the way, has been, it is supported by the makers of Prevagen, the Quincy Bioscience company. Some people bash them on that. I'm not going to bash them on that. I like it when companies actually invest the money into their own study, but I would like to see a couple more studies published on Prevagen. This is what we got so far. Beside what I already said, a couple of things I realized when I looked at the study. A, they didn't measure calcium levels. Remember, the jellyfish protein is supposed to improve memory by removing calcium from the brain, by binding up the calcium. It's a calcium binding protein. They didn't measure calcium levels in the body that I could see. And also, they didn't appear to measure the jellyfish protein levels. When you take the Apoaequorin jellyfish protein, could you have tested for that in the blood to see if it actually increased? They didn't measure that either. That would be another issue. And then, again, it may be nitpicking here, but there were different numbers of people in the placebo group and the Apoaequorin jellyfish protein group. There was more people getting the jellyfish protein than the placebo. I wondered about that because, hey, it had almost 220 people. Why couldn't they have just divvied them up and made them almost equal? I don't see why that couldn't be. I'll leave a statistician to weigh in on that. But again, it's something that jumped out at me. You can take that for what it is. But that's what we got so far in terms of Prevagen, one clinical peer-reviewed study that may or may not show something is going on. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you the FDA and Prevagen had been basically clanging heads together for the last couple of years. Here's a warning letter from 2012. Here's another letter from 2020. Essentially, the FDA, boil it down to this. They say, we don't believe your research. We don't believe Prevagen works. We don't like the bold claims you make for your supplement. And they even actually take some issues with the fact that the jellyfish protein is made synthetically. And they say it doesn't actually always fit with the description of what a supplement is. A dietary supplement does have a definition, and they're saying it may not fit the definition of a supplement. Again, you can do your own research on the internet. Just basically search for Prevagen FDA, Prevagen FTC. You'll see much more on this, but I wanted to at least bring this up for you for your consideration. So if we leave Prevagen alone for a minute, we talk about Neuriva. That's the other very popular memory supplement out there. Like before, it's only got two ingredients here. You've got this coffee fruit extract, also called coffee cherry. It's in some of the studies, 100 milligrams of that. And phosphatidylserine, which I'll talk about in a minute, 100 milligrams of phosphatidylserine. But coffee cherry, coffee fruit extract, that's the key ingredient in Neuriva. And again, just to give you a side-by-side comparison, if you're at the store right now and you got them in your left and right hands, so the difference in ingredients are Neuriva's got your coffee cherry and your phosphatidylserine, and Prevagen is going to have your vitamin D and your Apoaequorin. Interestingly, as an aside, vitamin D was not used in any of the Prevagen studies that I've seen. It's only this jellyfish protein. Again, take that for what it is. Now, there is some different types of Neuriva I want you to be aware of. Again, there's 3 different types here: the Neuriva Original, the Plus, and the De-Stress. They all contain the coffee cherry compound. That's why I'm calling coffee cherry the key main ingredient in Neuriva. Original's got 100 milligrams, the Plus has got 200 milligrams, and then the De-Stress has got 100, but it's giving you this amino acid called L-theanine here. L-theanine can have kind of a calming effect in the body. I sometimes see that in anxiety supplements. So again, that makes sense there. And then also in the Plus, you're getting more of the coffee cherry, but you're also getting these vitamins here, B6, B12, and folic acid. Why? I think it's because B6, vitamin B12, and folic acid lower homocysteine levels. Homocysteine is a compound that can play a role in not only heart disease, but also dementia. And so if we're low in these vitamins, that could raise homocysteine levels up and play a role in dementia. I think they're trying to lower homocysteine by giving people these 3 vitamins. Again, this is essentially what you would get in a multivitamin. So if you were just sticking with the original Neuriva and you took a multivitamin, you're probably getting these already. But again, it's something for each of us to decide for ourselves. So in terms of the research on Neuriva, the thing to realize is that so far nobody's taken Neuriva into the lab and tested it itself. Remember, we did see a study on Prevagen. The research, however, on Neuriva is on the ingredients, specifically coffee cherry. No research on the combination of coffee cherry and phosphatidylserine. So again, that's something that may happen in the future, but as of right now, I see research on the individual ingredients, not the Neuriva supplement itself. So if we look at the research on the coffee cherry, here's what we got so far. And this study basically goes like this. It's a cognitive short-term and long-term effects of coffee cherry extract in older adults with mild cognitive impairment. Mild cognitive impairment is maybe you ask somebody a question and then maybe they stumble on their words a little bit, or maybe they can't remember where they put their car keys or something like that. That's not major cognitive problems like dementia or Alzheimer's at all. Mild cognitive issues is what they're looking at right here. So essentially in this investigation, you got 71 older adults, again, mild memory problems. They're given coffee cherry or a placebo for 1 month. And in terms of how much did they give them, so they gave them 100 milligrams of coffee cherry or 200 milligrams or a placebo. Again, this is 100 milligrams is in the regular Neuriva, 200 is in the Plus or a placebo. And they did a couple other things as well. They sometimes gave people the coffee cherry in the morning and sometimes they gave it to them in the evening just to see if there was any issue in the time of day, whether it might work better in the morning or it might work better at nighttime. And that's actually a pretty good idea. But in terms of results, what actually happened when they gave people coffee cherry? So they find out that after this 1 month study is over, those taking either 100 milligrams or 200 milligrams of coffee cherry a day, once or twice a day, they had reductions, significant reductions in reaction time compared to placebo. What does that mean? Well, as it takes you less time to react, your thinking gets faster. And that's what's happening here. So when you ask people questions, they react much faster. They answer much faster. That's what's going on here. Remember, as reaction time decreases, you become quicker. And that's what's going on here. How much faster? So if you took the 100 milligrams a day, which is the basic Neuriva, you got about a 35% improvement. in thinking processing speed, and if you took 200 milligrams a day, it's about a 37% improvement. So again, I'll leave that to your discretion whether you think 35 versus 37 is for you is significant. And again, you want to look at the price between Neuriva Original versus the more advanced, more pro version of this. In terms of phosphatidylserine, so we've got various studies on phosphatidylserine helping memory. This is just one of them. It's actually a large study. They started out with 494 people. About 70 of them drop out. So they're still left with about 420 people. It's a 6-month study. And they find that after the 6 months, the phosphatidylserine, people getting phosphatidylserine, they showed memory improvements when they gave them before and after memory tests compared to placebo. I would point out, however, in this study, they gave them 300 milligrams of phosphatidylserine. That actually is more than is in Neuriva. Neuriva's clocking in at about 100 milligrams. This involved 300 milligrams. And when I looked a little further into this, I saw several other studies also using 200 and 300 milligrams of phosphatidylserine. So again, is it possible 100 might work? It's possible. I may have missed that study. But again, it's something to think about. And also realize, again, not a magic bullet. There are some studies out there showing phosphatidylserine does not improve memory. So again, something to keep in the back of your mind. So pros, cons, and considerations for both of these supplements. Here's kind of my final verdicts and some things to think about. So Prevagen, yeah, it's got at least one peer-reviewed clinical study on it. I think that study has some problems. I would like to see it replicated maybe once or twice more to see if what might be happening. Neuriva has no study so far on Neuriva supplement itself. Rather, the research is on the ingredients, okay, specifically that coffee cherry ingredient. What they both have going for them is they're both using the same amount of their key ingredients as was used in the research. Again, whether it's the jellyfish protein, the Apoaequorin protein, or the coffee cherry, both of them are giving you the same dosage of that key ingredient as was used in their respective clinical studies, and that's good. The Neuriva supplement has an app where you could download the app onto your phone. They have a paid and free version, and you could do some brain games to gauge how well your memory is improving. I'm not convinced that doing memory games improves memory, but it can be kind of fun and might be worth checking out if you're using Neuriva. No such app yet for Prevagen. But one thing with Prevagen I do want to bring to your attention is the key jellyfish ingredient. Is that jellyfish ingredient digested when you take it? Well, according to Quincy's own study, yeah, they actually have a study where they do say the Apoaequorin jellyfish protein is digested in the stomach. So if it's digested in the stomach, how does it get into the brain to bind up calcium and improve memory? I have not heard an explanation for that as of yet. That's actually something I've heard the FDA mentioning as well. How does it actually work if it's digested in the stomach? Another reason why I'd like to see a couple more studies on Prevagen. And then across the board, I got to be honest with you, neither one of these supplements has wowed me with their clinical studies. Basically, they got one apiece, and they have issues with them. And so to be honest with you, if you're going to try either Prevagen or Neuriva, I think go into it eyes wide open, realize that results may vary, and it may take a few months to see if it may work. So there you have it. There is my summary of both of these. Hopefully you understand Prevagen and Neuriva better than you did before this video. Leave a comment below if you've tried either ones. I'm curious to see if either one of them have helped you. Until next time, I'm Joe Cannon. Go out, be safe, and try to make a difference.